Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Elizabeth here. Can you believe it? It's been so long. It's probably been like a year and a half or more. I have no idea. A long time. I've been hibernating, especially when the coronavirus came. I was like stuck in my house for like I liked it. I enjoyed it. That's like how I lived before the virus. So. But I'm back, or at least I'm trying to come back. This is my first vlog in a long time, so pardon me if I'm rusty. I'm not used to smiling either. Like, I'm happy, and but at home, I don't just walk around like, just all smiles and everything. My face is just probably like this. Now I'm smiling, but it's normal, okay? Which is better because you don't get all the wrinkles, right, from constantly smiling. But since I don't smile that much anymore, I find out when I go out for the day and I'm talking to people and I'm smiling that my mouth is like sore. The muscles here and my lips kind of like, what is that called? Twitch or whatever from the muscles not being used. That's pitiful, isn't it? I gotta smile more. Well, also my lips quiver because I get nervous. I get panic. Ever since the thing with Amy, like 5 years ago, I got panic attacks. And even though I've gotten, like, not over them, but even though they're not as bad at all, I still get panic out of nowhere. And, like, when I'm talking to someone, my lip and stuff will, like, quiver. And I'll just get all, like, nervous and everything and sweaty. And, oh, well. I learned how to handle them really well. I should make a video to help because I know that my sister had bad panic, and I know that it is a real thing, and it is a bad thing that can, hurt a lot of people. Not like maybe physically hurt, but hurt them for like going out and doing things or wanting to do things. So anyways, I'm back, and I'm here to tell you what my life has been like for the last year and a half, and what I'm supposedly hoping you'll be like in the future. I guess the biggest news that I have, if you haven't heard, is my dad, James, passed away recently. It was in May 13th of this year, this is October. Yesterday was Halloween. So happy October, happy Halloween. No, wait. This is November, because yesterday was Halloween. Oh my gosh. My dad passed away, and it was, like I said, unexpected. Let me tell you about it real quick, okay? Let's start with me living with my dad. Like I said, this September, it was 5 years, and those years were wonderful years with him. I am so thankful that I got to really get to know him, like, as a person, and got to live with him and share everything with him these last 5 years and to help him. We never argued, we never had any problems, we always got along. I took care of, like, the inside. I cooked, I did, like, the chores, and I bought the groceries, I bought supplements, I bought all the stuff, like the cat stuff and the vet, and everything, like, extra. And he took care of the outside of the house, the cars, the motorcycle, and the rent, and the utilities, and it worked out perfectly. It was so wonderful. And in that 5 years, we have not heard from the kids or from Amy, which is our family, in case you're new to my channel. I have a sister named Amy, and I have a daughter named Manara, and I have a son, 2 sons, Zarius and Trevon. Even though I did not birth them, my sister birthed them. I raised them since they were, well, Trevon since he was 1, and Zarius since before he was born, and they are my kids. You can't raise a kid for 14 years, live with him every day, and give him everything, and love him more than anything, and then just when he doesn't want you anymore, just say, "You're not my mom anymore." It doesn't work, sorry. So my kids and my sister doesn't really have anything to do with us. My sister thinks I'm a mean, horrible person and convinced the kids that. I'm going to make a video about that also if you guys are curious. I just have to, okay? Because I'm not scared of her anymore. But they have not, the horrible part is they have not contacted my dad. And for all these years, he would ask me, like, why? That's what he wanted to know. Why? What did he do to them? He, like, supported them his whole life. He gave them everything. They called him dad because they don't have a dad. It was just me and my sister raising them, 2 moms. And they loved him so much. But as soon as I moved out of the house from them and the Amy stuff got worse, they just didn't have anything to do with him. They didn't talk to him. They didn't call him. Nothing. It was like he didn't even exist anymore. And he would tell me over and over, he's like, "I'm dead to them," and I would try not to argue with him, but I would try to tell him, no, you got to think of it this way. like I said, when I moved out, I moved in with him. They didn't have a problem with him, but as soon as I started living with them, it's kind of like with her. 'Cause she's like a, what do they call, a narcissist or whatever. If you're not on her team, if you're not with her, you're against her. There's no in between. So I guess since my dad let me live with him, that I guess that he was now a bad person too or something. I don't know. He didn't never understand why they didn't want him anymore. And the sad part is that when he died, he died without seeing them, without wanting to see them. Honestly, he made me promise he actually made me promise before he got sick. Like for years we talked about this. He said that he wanted the kids. I don't know about Amy. I don't know if he, would have accepted Amy back after all she did to him and the money she used him for and everything, these last few years especially. But he said if the kids would just come and say, hey, Dad, I'm sorry I didn't talk to you. It's been so simple. That's all it took. He wasn't like hating them or mad at them or anything. He was just disappointed and hurt, And he said that if something happened to him, and I said this also, if something happened to me, and, it was like last minute and they wanted to just come and get everything out right then, that he didn't want that. That he thought that they had, if they didn't come beforehand, that it was kind of like they chose their path and then they had to live it. So when he did get sick, he made sure to make me promise that I wouldn't let them know. He didn't want to see them in the hospital and stuff. He didn't want to go through all that right then after 4.5 years of begging and waiting, and that is totally his choice. It was extremely hard to do that, to honor that choice. Of course, I wanted to just reach out to them and say, hey, your grandfather's dying. It's your last chance. Come see him. But that's not what he wanted, and that's not what I did. The horrible thing is that when she found out he died, that she wrote a thing on her Facebook page about me. Of course, like I said, narcissist, blaming me for all of it, for keeping him away, or, and saying, just, it was stupid, it was so stupid. But now I'm going to talk about my dad. I put it off because I don't want to start crying and everything, get all emotional, which I'm going to, of course, especially since it's so recent. Here we go. So my dad was very healthy, health conscious. He, ever since he was young, like in high school, he would exercise, he ran, he always, ate well. He never was into sweets. He never drank alcohol. He smoked, not cigarettes, if you know what I mean. All his life, basically, he smoked. But that, that wasn't that bad compared to everything else he could have done. He was very healthy and active up until the very last. I mean, he was out, like I said, doing the lawn, doing, the car, washing the car, and like pressure, everything. He was totally active. He ate lots of fruits and vegetables and ate well. So one morning when he woke up, he was completely orange. And I don't mean like just kind of a yellow or off-colored skin or whatever. I'll put a picture in here so you can see. He was like an orange. And when we went to the hospital, people were even like the nurses and people were like calling over other people to come look at him because I guess I didn't realize it. They said they'd never seen anyone that was so orange before. I mean, they were like staring. At first, when he woke up that morning, we thought it was just something with, like beta carotene. Like, I don't know if it's called something, but, like when you eat too much like sweet potatoes or carrots and your skin turns orange. Because he did eat a lot of sweet potatoes and a lot of carrots and stuff. So the first day or two, we were just laughing like, oh my God, look at you, Dad. You're orange. And, it was like a big joke or whatever. But then we started to worry, of course, like, wait a second, because I started looking it up on the internet. And it said on there that if the yellow in your eyes are orange too, then it's not the, the beta carotene. And his eyes were the same orange, including his sweat and, all his bodily fluids and everything was orange. So, of course, he went to the doctors that week and they did an MRI on him and they did find a huge mass in his liver. And, of course, without doing a biopsy, they don't know what it is. But that's why he was orange, because they have the bilirubin, which is what your liver processes out. It's that stuff, I guess, you throw up when, you have that bile or whatever in your stomach. I don't know. But I guess his liver wasn't working and processing, and so it just went into his body. And so that week kind of went by fast. That was the MRI and the test results and that. That was the first week he was orange. And then the next week, the second week, we were waiting to do we did a blood test. She wanted a really quick blood test, and we went and did that. And then we were waiting for the results, and she was talking about wanting his doctor, so I'm talking about she. she's wanting to put, I think they're called stents in to drain the bilirubin because, you know, they couldn't do the biopsy and other tests and stuff with him like he was because his body wasn't working, because his liver wasn't processing anything. So it's kind of like you had to take steps, like he had to get the stents and get the bilirubin drained and like kind of take care of that kind of liver processes first before he could even go and do like a biopsy and stuff. So the whole second week went by like that. And he was just getting worse and worse because, you know, he couldn't eat and he couldn't drink. And, you know, he just literally, he sat in his room in the dark, in his chair, no TV or no game. He wouldn't watch a movie with me. He didn't really talk to me or anything. And it was horrible because, you know, I mean, like, he's going through all this stuff. And on top of it all, it was like I was alone and I didn't have anyone to talk to. And I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. And I know he was feeling the same. And I just wanted to, like, talk to him, but he didn't want to talk to me. And not that he didn't want to. It just, I guess, didn't feel like it, you know? And then his mind was a little like hazy because when you have that bilirubin in you, I guess you cloud your mind or whatever. So he felt a little like dizzy and like kind of confused-ish. I mean, he was in his right mind. He could talk normal and everything. And, you know, he was still talking to his doctor and making his own choices and everything. Not like that, but just a little like fuzzy feeling, you know. So that was the second week. You know, he did the blood work and we got the results. And the third week came, and the doctor was talking to me now because, you know, he was less and less in good health. And she said that, you know, we could do a biopsy, but the chances of doing it were a huge risk because, you know, like your liver is all bloody soft tissue and that, you know, like, you know, you could bleed out and all these like risks and stuff. And so while we're talking about just trying to get like, you know, see if this was cancer and everything, you know, he got so bad that third week that he didn't get out of bed. He couldn't eat anything. He was throwing up because of, you know, his liver. I mean, he couldn't eat, you know. So all he did was ate Jello. I made him little Jello containers and brought him Jello and water and just took care of him, you know, did everything I could for him to make him comfortable and happy and, you know. But by the middle of that third week, it was like he was so bad. I thought he was just going to die right there on me because he wasn't eating or drinking or anything. So he said finally, it was like I think Sunday, that he was ready to go to the emergency room. So I took him. And the horrible part was he had to sit there like all day long. I don't know why. Maybe because they just thought, you know, he wasn't in, you know, I guess they go by like matter of importance. But like I said, he laid in bed all day. He couldn't even sit up. And he was so freezing. He couldn't stay warm. And so he had to sit in a wheelchair in that emergency room all day long. And it was horrible. It was torture watching him be tortured sitting there. But they finally put him in the back of the emergency room that night. And then they were doing tests and stuff. And I went home later that night. Came back the next day. They moved him up to a room. And this is the second day now in the hospital. And the doctors came and they talked to me and they, you know, they said that, you know, I mean, without doing the biopsy, they pretty much know it's cancer. I mean, look at him, right? And that there wasn't that much they could do. I mean, we could try the stent thing and we could try that, whatever. But, I mean, I guess his health went so fast by that second day. And by that third day when I came into the hospital, it was just like, I think we did some kind of blood transfusion thing just to try to get him stable enough to go and get the operation for the stents. But that wasn't even enough to even get him stable enough. And they said that, you know, they don't tell you. But you could tell the way they were telling me that it was just no use. That what I was doing for him was just prolonging by maybe even hours or days, you know. Which, and he told me that day that he wanted it to be over. That he didn't want to keep suffering like that. That he didn't want to do this anymore. He wanted to stop. So hearing him say that told me that if I kept doing this for the next few days, trying to, you know, keep him, you know, alive, that would just be torturing him. You know, he didn't want me to continue, which he told me. So I told them, and they didn't do any more like the blood transfusion stuff and everything. And we just agreed to move him to a hospice house. And he was there, and I went there with him. And I stayed there almost till like real late at night, but I had to go home because the animals, you know, he has 2 cats and I have 2 dogs. And I had, you know, do at the house. I hadn't eaten. I had to sleep. I'm a sleep person. I wouldn't be able to even come back the next day if I didn't sleep. I'm sorry. I'm so teary-eyed and I don't care. And I don't care if you care. No offense. I mean, I just don't care, you know. Because I went back the next day. He was so like out of it, and he was every breath he took. He did like a moan afterwards, you know. It was like so horrible. You could tell he was in so much pain. And at that point, he wasn't like talking or like looking or opening his eyes or anything. He was dying, you know. And it was so hard like to see him. But I sat there all day and I held his hand and I rubbed his head and his hair and I told him how much I loved him and how sorry I was for what a bad kid I was most of my life. So I did use him and take advantage of him and try to take all his money and shit when I was like 20 something, you know. And I mean, he knew all that and he told me that he forgave me and all that, you know, but still it's hard, you know. But at least I got a chance to tell him how sorry I was and how much he meant to me. And at least I was there when he passed. It was later, like maybe around like 3 or something. And I could tell, I could just feel it. I could feel that he was like ready to go. It's so funny or sad, I don't know, or wonderful. Because he died on the 13th and he was in the military and he was, you know, he got a Social Security check. So he got 2 checks a month at different days. And he always told me, he's like, make sure, you know, if I die and you get my military check like the next day or whatever, he's like, you can't have it because, you know, once I die, you know, it's the military's money. And I didn't care any about that ever. I never even thought about that. But now I think back, it was the 12th, like, and the 11th. He, like I said, he wasn't really talking much at all those days, but he would open his eyes and ask me what day it was, and I had no idea why he was asking that. It was crazy to me, but I told him. And then when he died on the 13th and I saw it was the 13th, it dawned that he literally waited for me to have that last check of his. I swear he waited because it was like on the 13th when I was there. He was like, every time I told him that everything was fine and that I figured out that that's why he waited. And it was as soon as I figured that out, like it was around, like I said, 2 or 3, I told him, I said, Dad, you know, he, like I said, he was out of it, but I knew he could hear me. I said, Dad, everything's fine. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. You know, you can let go. You know, you don't have to stay here. It's okay. You can go. You know, and then I swear within a few minutes, you could see him, his breath stopped this much and he was just slowing down his body, and then he passed on in my arms, and I miss him so bad. I love him so much. He was the best dad ever. He was so wonderful. But there's my life right now. He left me the house, and he left me this van. He left me his motorcycle, which I've always asked him to teach me how to ride it, and he always told me no, I would kill myself, you know, and he never would teach me. I guess he was anti me riding a bike, but when he died and I was looking at his bike that next day in the driveway, and oh my God, I mean, he loved his bike. He's always loved motorcycles ever since he was a teenager and could ride, you know. And I just could not even fathom selling his motorcycle. That was like his baby. It just felt like a betrayal even thinking about it, you know, even though I need the money, you know. So I put more money into it. I went and took a bike class and I got my license and I learned how to ride a motorcycle, and I had to buy a new battery and I had to buy gear, and I had to finish paying it off. It was still like $1,500 left on it, which I just made the last payment this month, so it's mine. And I cherish it. I love it. Every time I see him, every time I get on it, every time I see the bike or every time I get on it, I see him and I feel him there, you know, because I used to always go out when he'd go out on it and watch him go down the road, and we'd go out, and when he came home and welcome him home, and he loved showing off and revving it and stuff. So I got his bike. I have all his pin collection. I am going to keep the majority of it, all his special pins that he'd always show me. We'd go through them and look at them and everything. And but a lot of his pins I don't want because he kept a lot of just rare pins just because they were rare, you know. But I'm going to be selling those on my pin store, everythingmouseypins.com. So if you guys would like to help support me at all, since it is very hard, we weren't prepared, please go buy some pins. That's how you can do it. Because he had a lot of bills, most of them were Amy's. He had like a 20-something, 30-something $1,000 debt that he paid off all these last 4.5 years. And literally, like 3 months before he died, he paid it all off. It was my birthday, February 20th. It was the last payment that he didn't have to pay it because it was paid off. And we celebrated extra on my birthday because he was debt free. He hated being in debt. He never would have been in debt himself. You know, he was a responsible guy, right? So he was so happy, and he was making all that stuff. Oh, it hurts me so bad. He was making all these plans. You know, he's like, oh, I'm going to go on a cruise. He loved that cruise he went on with Amy and the kids, that rock and roll, like the old, you know, music cruise. Hold on, let me wipe my snotty face. Okay. So he would have had a lot of extra money to save finally and to spend and enjoy. But since it was so short, I mean, it was only a few months after he got done paying his debt to when he died that we didn't have any time to save any money. I mean, literally, we had like nothing extra saved. So when he died, it's just like all these bills now are just, you know what I'm saying? Like my pen store made enough to, you know, it makes enough. It makes like, I think 30 to 35,000 a year, but it's not enough now to pay for all these extra things like the insurances and the bills and the rent and the motorcycle and the car, and I need new tires, I need new car tires, and it's just like, So I got a supplemental job right now. I just started it a few days ago at Amazon. It's a flex driver because I have this big old van, not old, this big new van that's sitting here not being used because I don't go anywhere or do anything. And I thought, why not? He always told me that it looked like it'd be a fun job to be an Amazon driver. So I looked into it, and it looks really cool. They say you make $18 to $25 an hour, which is crazy a lot, isn't it? I don't know. I'm going to see what... I made a delivery the other night. It went very well. There's like these time blocks that you could pick. It's like 2 or 3 or 4 hour time block. And they tell you how much you get paid. They'll say like, deliver packages for 2 hours and get, you know, $40. Or deliver packages for 3.5 hours and get $65. And so I went and did that for a $65 one. It ended up taking me 1 hour instead of 3.5 hours to deliver them. And they still pay me the $65. How crazy is that? For 1 hour. I was like, okay, this could, you know, help supplement, like I said, my pen store. But, so, that's my life right now. I'm alone in the house with the 2 dogs and the 2 cats who, oh my god, I love. Poor Ash. He grieved as much as I did. Ash's dad's older cat. He's a black cat. He's a boy. And he loved my dad. He would follow him everywhere around the house. He'd always be, like, if he sat down, he'd always be on his lap and everything. And it was sad because when my dad was sick, it's like Ash knew. You know, animals know. I guess they can smell it or sense it or whatever. But he would not leave my dad's side. I mean, he would like glue. And in that last week, right before we went to the hospital, when my dad was so bad, Ash was like all like on him and in his face and space. And my dad was upset because, you know, he couldn't like relax or sleep or stretch out or whatever. And he had me come get the cat out of the room, and I had to like kind of try to keep him away from dad. It was sad because I know Ash didn't understand, but I knew my dad needed his rest, and Ash wasn't letting that happen. So I see exactly how it is, because as soon as my dad died and Ash started coming and sleeping in my bed, even though I have 2 chihuahuas that sleep in my bed that don't like the cat necessarily, Ash didn't care. He was sad and he was lonely, and he came and laid right here on my pillow next to my head, and he would even take his little paw, like his face is here, and he would take his little paw and he pulls my cheek over like this. And he puts his little wet nose against my nose and my face. How cute is that? He does. Like every morning he'll come and get in my bed. And he'll lay here on my pillow with me. And he'll like, you know, like lay against my face or something and purr. And he's just, you know, he misses dad. But he's my big boy now. And I love him. I'm taking care of him for dad. You know, I'm giving him everything that my dad would. All the love. But it's lonely without my dad. I miss him. But that's my life update. Sad as it is, that's me now. And I'm going to try to, like I said, go out more and do more things and vlog more. So if you want to see that, you know, I hope so. I'm going to make video about, like I said, about what happened between me and Amy. I'm going to make videos about my weight because I have maintained, this is 7 years now since the time that I started losing weight. Not 7 years since I've lost all the weight, but including the years that it took me to lose the weight. Like since the beginning, 7 years, and I'm still where I was. I weigh around like 160, let's say 160, because I had gained like maybe 5 pounds. I actually gained a little more over the last year, but I lost it again. I gained like 10 pounds because, you know, I started eating a little more. Depression, it makes you, you know. But I'm going to make some more videos about weight and stuff. I'm no expert, you know, but I have a lot of encouraging words, and I have a lot of things that I learned just from, you know, experience. You know, I did it, you know, and I maintained, and I can help you. I know I can. But thank you guys so much for watching and for hanging out all this last year or two when I wasn't here, for still being a subscriber and still watching my videos. Thank you guys. Bye.